guys, Jay here. Welcome to Eons of Battle. This Christmas, Santa brought me 24 cubic feet of Sterilite boxes because, and this is exactly what I asked for, because I desperately need to get on top of my pile of shame. And I don't mean like finishing it like responsibly and getting the models done. I mean just getting it organized. It is an absolute disaster. I did this one time before, and back then it was a lot of models. Now it's a lot of models. And after I finish every single project, I don't really clean up. I just make the piles as small as possible and then push them into the corners. But if I get them all organized, then maybe that'll help me to actually be able to reach some of these projects and get some of them finished. And if I had to guess how many miniatures it's going to be, I guessed 500 minis. Nick guessed 800. Honestly, Nick's number feels a little bit more right, but I'm really hoping that it's 500. And if it's more than 500, I'm gonna try to make it be 500. Now, I don't really mind having a giant pile of shame, but it is starting to push the limits. There is actually a scientific fact that squirrels' brains get larger in the winter so that they can actually remember where all of their nuts are buried. And I feel like my squirrel brain is starting to break at the seams. I'm pretty sure I know what I have and where it's at, but that's not really true. Like every now and then I'm like, I need a Space Marine left hand. What kit has a Space Marine left hand? I know Intercessor kit really doesn't, but I know Incursor kits do have a lot of that hand. And I was working on Incursors in March. And in March, I was putting things in a cardboard box that ended up in my laundry room. But then I eventually cleaned that laundry room, and so then it ended up in my paint room on my paint stands. But then when I was working on my Dark Eldar army, I moved that box underneath my painting desk. But then the things that are underneath my painting desk get moved to the shelves behind my painting desk. And I have to keep track of that nest, that weird pathing of where on earth the Incursor sprues might have ended up so that I can get to that left arm. I want to fix that. I have a lot of models, and I want those models in nice Sterilite boxes, and so I'm gonna start with the Space Marines. Oh boy, this is a lot of Space Marines. It's a lot of little tiny bits. It's actually, I think, hopefully not that many full units. I did not think there'd be as much new in box. Primaris Inceptors, these guys are really good in a Space Marine army, and that's why I bought them. Not good in a Black Templar army. These are really good in like Gladius Task Force, Ultramarines, where you can really pump up the shooting. Black Templar, we can't pump up the shooting. We pump up the punching. And speaking of pumping up the punching, that is why I have more Sword Brethren. Honestly, I buy these boxes for bits. You get Space Marines with tabards and dick towels and really cool Black Templar weapons, so it makes sense to have this. Assault Intercessors, I could make something happen with the Assault Intercessors. And then I have a squad of Desolation Space Marines. I already built a squad of Desolation Space Marines. I don't want more Desolation Space Marines, so this is gonna maybe have to go. But at least these things don't have to get Sterilit into Sterilite boxes. Getting into the sprues. A lot of these sprues are bits. I used to carefully clip every single thing and put them into these little jewelry cases, but that takes a lot of time. And so I've just been throwing sprues willy-nilly into every corner of my house. I used to have them all really nicely rubber banded together, but then the rubber bands evaporated, they disintegrated. Ooh, that was a pretty good shot. Terminator, Black Templar. Okay, I'm just gonna make a pile of Black Templar, otherwise I'm not gonna be able to figure this out. This is a sprue from the 8th edition launch box. That is what this is from. I can't believe I never got those built. I might have eBayed those. This sprue has 5 bits on it. I really should condense that down. Tactical Marine, that can go on Black Templar. 30K Tac Marine. Now to work this down into bodies. 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 Intercessor Space Marines. Oh wait, what's this? 5 more Intercessor Space Marines that I actually built and painted and are, if I get some bases on there, they'll be ready to go. So 27 Space Marines. Okay, no more minis, but a lot more bits. Centurion Sprue is going in the Black Templar box. 4 more Intercessors. Outriders? Oh, your little sword got broken. That's okay, if you believed I have more swords. This is a Redemptor Dreadnought that I built in college. Well, I started building it in college. This is a Forge World Contemptor Dreadnoughts, the cute little humanoid 30K version of a Dreadnought. And I have this one, and then I have one more, and then I actually have one more. I have a actual from Forge World one. I've got an old school plastic Dreadnought. In this baggie, there's one more old school plastic Venerable Dreadnought. This is 4 Space Marine Devastators with gravity guns. This must be from like 2017, from that week that gravity guns were good. Now for the madness, the vehicles. One of my biggest failings as a Space Marine player is collecting the vehicles. Well, actually, I've done an okay job of collecting the vehicles. I've done a very poor job of painting the vehicles. I've got 2 repulsors. I've got, or no, are you an impulsor or a repulsor? The Primaris names are really hard to keep track of. Repulsors are the big ones and impulsors are the small ones, obviously. I've got 2 impulsors. I've got one more Lancer. I have got 1 big old repulsor. I have 3 rhinos that could turn into anything because there's rhinos and then there's razorbacks and then there's predator tanks. So I'll probably turn these into predator tanks because predator tanks still pretty darn good in a Space Marine army. And I have one of you. You are a Vindicator. I've got 1 Vindicator. Oh, and where is your little rammy plate? It might have been lost to time. Still looks kind of cool with just a little gun. Going in the Space Marine vehicle bucket is the 4 Rhino tanks, but is also going 6 old school Space Marine bikes that I did paint back in the day, but I want to repaint them, and I want to throw them on some proper, I think 90mm oval bases or 100mm oval bases for the Outriders, so I can have a big old Outrider army, and that way I will have a really fun Space Marine list to run when I'm playing actually friendly games of 40K. These bikes, they're not great, but they're really fun. One more Intercessor body. This is the instructions for a Gladiator tank, and it's super water damaged. When did water get in this box? The cardboard box is completely fine, but the instructions are soaked. My Primaris tanks are now safely in this box. It's labeled Necromunda. Done. Oh, my squirrel brain is so much happier now. Instead of having to remember where on earth I put every single thing, I know it is in these boxes and I know where it's in these boxes. This big old pile is 75 Space Marines that I need to fix, build, paint. Might get rid of these Desolation Marines, but other than that, this makes me pretty darn happy. And I can't wait to tackle my next army, the Orcs. The Orc collection is much less of a mess than my Black Templar collection, but I don't work on my Orcs every single weekend like I do my Space Marines. The big find of the Space Marines was the 6 Space Marine bikes and the 6 Outriders. I am pretty excited about that. Now, I have much less of an idea though what is in front of me right now. Looking at the new in-box stuff, we've got the old Christmas Orc, not Cruel Boy, Beast Snagga Stampede. Then we got 10 Beast Snaggas, 5 knobs. I feel like knobs just appear. Does any Orc player really want knobs? It's an old kit. I have so many knobs. And I've got 5 more. 2 boxes of Gretchen. Gretchen are an absolute must-have. I remember I bought these from the Warhammer store and I was really excited about it, but then I just put them on the shelf and never did anything with them. 3 Killicans. Doesn't the old yellow Orc Games Workshop boxes just fill you with all sorts of awesome nostalgia? Death Killer War Trike. A start collecting of Orcs. Hey look, more knobs. Combat Patrol Orcs also comes with the Death Dread. 10 more boys, no knobs. Then I've got a Megatrack Scrapjet, a Boomdaka Schnazwagon, another Boomdaka Schnazwagon, 2 more Orc Buggies. There's like 6 Orc Buggies, I don't remember them all off the top of my head. A Ruckatruck Squig Buggy, and another Combat Patrol Orcs. So I've got another Death Dread. I'm excited about those Death Coptas though. in going through my painting room, I found 9 Def Coptas. I've got 6 regular Def Coptas, I guess 9 regular Def Coptas because of that second combat patrol. And then I've got these weird little fellas. These are from a company called Cromlech, and they're essentially Killicans made into Def Coptas. These guys are hilarious. And so now I can do a proper air cav orc army. Other than that, we got Beast Snaggas, 10 more Beast Snaggas, 10 more Beast Snaggas, a Beast Snagga Kill Boss, a Beast Hog Boys, and a genuine GW Gazgul. Oh, thank goodness. And we got more knobs. Perfect. 2 Zogrod Wartsnaggas, 5 Storm Boys, 10 more boys, and a baggie of 32mm bases. Oh, and that doesn't even account for this box of second-hand orc models that were sent to us. We got a battle wagon. I'll glue that back on later. Another Zogrod Wartsnagga, Beast Boss and Mega Armor. Got a squad of Orc Commandos, 1 Old School Gazgul, 2 Grot Tracta Cannons, another Zogrod Wartsnagga, Pain Boss, you're not a weird boy, you're a mech boy, Squig Hog Riders, Flash Gits. I was just playing Dawn of War the other day, and I made a squad of Flash Gits. And a very nicely painted Kill Boss on Squigosaur. Nice little slap choppage and a base that weighs like 2 ounces. I've got all the orcs squared away except for you. These vehicles don't fit really nicely into totes, but that's okay. All totaled up, it is 187 orcs. Nick might have been right. But to be fair, these orcs are owned by myself and Nick. So really, I should only be on the hook for half of this collection. That seems fair to me. I think what we probably will do, because we are both big orc fans, is we both come up with our army. Like mine's probably gonna be Cult of Speed. Nick's gonna be all about the biggest, stompiest, toughest stuff. Put together those armies, and then maybe get rid of all of the rest of the orcs, because it is a lot. And there was a lot of orcs, but next up is Dark Eldar, and I don't think I have that much Dark Eldar. The Dark Eldar have already been through 1 round of cleaning, so some things are actually in tote boxes, but I'm pretty sure it's a jumbled mess because I actually built this army last year, and so now I just need to find whatever's left, maybe work on that too. And starting off, look at this beauty. It is the Tantalus. One of the most beautiful models that Games Workshop Forge World has ever made. I have one that is pre-loved, and I have another one that is new in box. I guess new in several baggies. But the Tantalus in-game, this humongous vehicle, 230 points. It's about the same cost as a Space Marine Land Raider. This thing is as big as 3 Space Marine Land Raiders. Yeah, Dark Eldar are cheap. Really, really cheap in game. This box is actually labeled Dark Eldar. 3 Reaverjet bikes. We got a Ravager that is missing a lot of its parts. A Raider that is mostly complete, a little banged up. Void Raven Bomber that is pretty beat up. Now, I was thinking, I really wanted to put a Void Raven Bomber in my list because it was like right on the edge of, it's a flyer, it's not great, but it does have some abilities that help supplement a Black Templar army. And so I could just about justify it in my list. It went up 20 points. Games Workshop, was the Void Raven Bomber really the problem with Dark Eldar? Now it's, it's anything is playable if you play with it, but got another Raider. Bits and bits. I actually built an army this year, and so that's why all of these sprues are empty. But I do have, 10 Incubi. Ooh, and another Venom. I love Venoms so much. I have 3 in my army right now, and so I'm gonna have 4. And this box will become, this one was called Dark Eldar New. It's gonna become Dark Eldar Bits. I've got 1 Talos Pain Engine. I have 1 box of Dark Eldar Hellions and 2 boxes of Dark Eldar Hellions. These are 10 Witches, 10 Scourges, 5 more Hellions, 10 Cabalites, 10 more Cabalites, 3 Reaver Jet Bikes, and 3 more Reaver Jet Bikes. All squared away, 92 Dark Eldars. Although, caveat, I'll probably be getting rid of some of those Cabalites because it's mostly Cabalites and Witches. And, those Tantalises. No big discoveries because I have been actively working on this army, but I'm really excited about the 2 Tantalises, the Dark Eldar boats. In an army of boats, those boats reign supreme. Next up is going to be Tyranids, and I haven't thought about Tyranids since I played Space Marine 2, which was a bit ago. Nids! This collection is pretty easy. I got 1 more Tyrannifex. I got a Psychophage because they were going for about $10 on eBay. I got 12 more Gene Stealers because technically my copy of Space Hulk is not complete. I spent like a week straight painting that up, but I tried really, really hard. So I do need to finish off these 12 Gene Stealers. And then I think the set comes with like 22 or something, and that's the maximum number the Stealer player gets in game. And so I gotta paint those, but they're not really part of my Tyranid army. And then I got a ton of secondhand models that I have been buying to bulk out my Gene Stealer, or my Tyranid army. I also have a Gene Stealer cult army, but that'll be after this. I got 1 of these guys. You are a Trigon. Then I got a Parasite Amortrix, 3 Venomthropes, and by Venomthropes I mean Zonethropes. Tyrant Guard! Oh, I forgot I had these. I drove to like 3 different game stores when 10th edition launched because these were one of the better units in the Tyranid Index, and I actually bought these like to try to play with them in game because I really like big bugs. So these guys are awesome. Going through this box, there is a baggie of little Ripper Swarms, and then 20 Termagants. And by Termagants, I mean, no, I do mean Termagants. Termagants are the shooty, Ormagants are the stabby. I have 4 Gene Stealers. I have 20, not Harpies, that is the winged Tyranid warrior. You are Gargoyles. 3 zones, 1 of you that I already forgot your name, even though I remembered it just a second ago. I got 1 cute little Parasite Amortrex, 5 Barbergaunts, 3 Von Ryan's Leapers, 2 Lictors, a little 3-man squad of Tyrant Guard, and then I have Ravagers, 6 Ravagers and 6 Tyranid Warriors, and I found 6 dice in this box. So that really is the cherry on top. The Tyranids tuck away nicely into 2 totes in a box, and then you don't fit into anything, Mr. Moloch. Or you're not a Moloch, you're a Trigon. But the big find was the Tyrant Guard. I forgot all about those Tyrant Guard. I'm gonna paint up those Tyrant Guard. I'm pretty excited about that. But I did find 4 random Gene Stealers, so I figure these guys are misplaced from my Gene Stealer Cult's army. Gene Stealer Cult actually did a decent job of putting that army together this year, so there shouldn't be that much. As I expected, there is a Ziploc baggie full of the freshest 30 Gene Stealers. Got 10 more Neophytes. Oh, and I still have some heavy weapon teams from Victoria Miniatures. 63 Gene Stealer cultists. The Gene Stealers are in pretty good shape, but everything else is not, and I don't even want the Sentinels. I also forgot to mention that I have a Sentinel without legs because I used those legs to kit bash into a Daredeo Dreadnought. So I have 6 Sentinels, but one of them is missing legs. Next up, it is time for the Necrons. Done. For Necrons, I have 4. I got 4 Necron Warriors, 5 old Lich Guard in my old Necron paint scheme. I should fix these guys up. And I have the old Imhotep the Stormlord. Oh, and I do have an old Finecast. This is Necron Destroyer Lord, and I even have a body for him, so I could put this guy together. 11 Necron minis. Honestly, my Necron army is actually pretty well complete, put together, and ready for playing on the tabletop. I just need to do it. But an army that is not quite ready for the tabletop yet is my Death Guard. I probably do have 2,000 points of Death Guard. A lot of it is Blight Lord Terminators, which people poo-poo the Blight Lord Terminator because the Death Shroud Terminators are just better, but you only get 3 Death Shroud Terminators for every 5 Blight Lord Terminators. And I also just love Terminators, so why not both? I mean, I could take 3 squads of Blight Lord and 3 squads of Death Shroud, and I could be bringing a lot of muscle to my Death Guard army, especially with the new detachment. Looks pretty spicy. This is all just bits. This is 7 Plague Marines. 9 more, 7 plus 9. Oh, and I have a little baggie of the original plastic Plague Marines. I found these guys in a friendly local game store's used shelf, and these, I don't even know when you could buy these, but these are kind of amazing. And then I have 2 Chaos War Dogs. In terms of vehicles, the Death Guard has the Blight Hauler, or no, the Blight Hauler is the little guy. The Blight Shuda, the big snail tank. I don't really like the big snail tank, and so I don't want it. And so I think 2 Armigers would actually replace like a squadron of those guys really nicely in my list. And I got 5 Blight Lord Terminators, and then I got 5 more Blight Lord Terminators new on sprue, and then I have the little Banner Man for the Death Guard. And I have a Hellbrute, one little Hellbrute that is just begging for me to turn him into a Death Guard Hellbrute. 29 Death Guard Arenos in 3 lovely totes. Next up is my Grey Knights army, and I actually do own a box labeled Chaos Demons. I don't know why. I got my good old-fashioned Grey Knights. They've always lived in this box, so I don't need to have to go scour the 4 corners of my house. But I know I have 20 Terminators, 20 suits of Grey Knights in Terminator armor, and then I have been steadily collecting Librarians. I have 3. I have 3. That's a proper collection of Terminator, or Librarians in Terminator armor. And then I have this special fella. Your name eludes me. And I have, Kaldor Drago in Forge World Resin, or no, in Games Workshop Failcast. The day I build this guy and get him all painted up is the day that this guy is gonna release in plastic. I am sure of it. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Grey Knights. And then what on earth is in this box labeled Demons? We got 1 Demonette. We got 10 Plague Bearers of Nurgle. And then we got 10 Demonettes of Nurgle. And then we've got a little tree. 46 more miniatures. I don't know if I'm gonna be doing anything with these demons, but they're in my house. So 46 more miniatures. And there's 1 more 40k army, and it's one that I bought very, very, very recently, and that is a Crout Army. I've been playing Crout in Tabletop Simulator, and I really like how they play, and so I got a Crout Army with a little bit of secondhand Tau, my already existing Crout collection, and 2 Tau Empire Army set Crout Hunting Packs. These come with 25 models apiece. It's a combination of Crout Carnivores, Rampagers, Crout Riders, War Shapers. That is all the models that come in them, but I got 2 sets of it, and then I have got, these are Tau Crisis suits. I'm running them as the Sunburst suits, and then I have a good old-fashioned Riptide. And by Riptide, I mean you're a broadside battle suit. So with all of this stuff and my 16 Crouts and a Crout Rider, I have about 1,600 points of Crout. And really the only other thing I would want is like 6 more Crout Rampagers. The Crout Rampagers rampage really, really hard. They do devastating wounds on the charge. Oh, they are spicy. For Age of Sigmar Pile of Shame, really I only have 1 thing for Age of Sigmar proper, which is these Tree Revenants for my Sylvaneth army, so that's 5. Other than that, it is Spearhead all the time. Spearhead, the little version of Age of Sigmar, is the best game. And I got the Hedonites of Slaanesh. I've got them all built. I just need to get them based and painted. So that is 20 miniatures. How is it 20? It's 5 plus 3 plus 10 plus 1. Yep, that is 20. That's how numbers work. Then I've got 10 guys for my Age of Sigmar. These are the Stormcast Eternals from the Skaven Tide box. This makes another Spearhead and is 10 miniatures. Then I got Fire Slayers. I have no interest in the Fire Slayers, but I got this for a really good deal at a convention, And I just like Spearhead so much that I want more Spearhead armies to play with. And speaking of more Spearhead armies to play with, Daughters of Cain Spearhead. These guys seem really, really fun because the horsies have reinforced. So the first time they die, they get to come back to life and try again. That is a lot of miniatures. And then we got a box. Oh my goodness, it's heavy. Skaven Tide. This Skaven Tide box is not for us, it is for one of you guys. Please leave a comment on this video saying how many models are in your pile of shame, and then in the description of this video, there is a form to fill out, and if you fill out that form, then you will be in the running to win this Skaven Tide box. It comes with the Stormcast Eternals, the Skaven, and more importantly, all of the things that you need to play Spearhead. Spearhead is really, really, really fun. 82 miniatures in the Age of Sigmar pile of shame, although I don't even need to put these in boxes because these are gonna get done because we've been playing a lot of Spearhead. And so these guys have gotta get done so that I can play them on the tabletop. After Age of Sigmar though, things get a little squirrely. Squirrels, cause nuts, cause the beginning of this video. I have so many random models for other games. Star Wars Legion pile of shame. I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 Wookiee warriors that I started painting about a year ago, actually a little bit more than a year ago. I got them probably 75% done, and then I haven't touched them since. I also have Ewoks, and I think Ewoks would fit nicely into a Wookiee army. I have a AT-ST, and we all remember Chewbacca and the Ewoks stealing an AT-ST and then using it, and so it'd be really fun to like, well, whatever happened to that AT-ST, I'm sure the Ewoks kept it. For my Battle Droid army, I always keep an eye out on Amazon for Star Wars Legion, because every now and then, like one kit will be randomly like 35 or 50% off. And so I got Asajj Ventress, and I got 2 Dwarf Spider Droids. I love the Dwarf Spider Droid. I think it's the perfect combination of like characterization and practicality. Really like how these guys look. Then for just random stuff, I've got the 5th brother and 7th sister. Maybe I'll give these to Scott the Miniature Maniac if he doesn't already have them. And then I have some Republic Commandos, because if anybody's played the video game Republic Commando, it's pretty awesome. And there's 4 guys in that. I guess technically 5. And then 4 guys come in this box. And so I'm not a big clone guy, but I like those clones. And I got those clones. 31 miniatures for Star Wars Legion. And actually I could knock these all out in probably a couple of days. I like Star Wars Legion, and the models, they're physically very small and they're from Star Wars, so like the color schemes make a lot of sense, so they're really, really easy to paint up. But Star Wars Legion is a game that kind of makes sense. A game that doesn't really make much sense is Fallout Wasteland Warfare. And I barely even remember where I put all those models. I absolutely love the game Fallout New Vegas, and so there's a major game where you can play as Fallout New Vegas, and so I got Veronica and Eddie, which are the best companions in the game. There's something to Raoul, or Boone is pretty good too, but I don't really like companions that have guns because they're a much better shot than I am, and so I like Veronica. I have the NCR core box, which is classic from that game. I have a bunch of gangers. Unfortunately, these guys are from Fallout 4. I would have preferred if they were the Viper Gangers from Fallout New Vegas. I've played this game a couple of times. It is dense. It is an RPG, but it is kind of fun. I should get some more stuff painted. I've been playing some Fallout New Vegas. My current character is named Mrs. Laser. That is 22 miniatures for Fallout New Vegas, and I also have the starter set in a similar, I feel like, genre, kind of. Judge Dredd, I Am the Law starter set. There's a miniatures game of Judge Dredd, and it comes with a bunch of gangers, but it also comes with a street judge and a rookie judge that look remarkably similar to Judge Dredd and Anderson. So I haven't gotten a chance to play this game yet, but I have painted a couple of minis for it, and they're a lot of fun. They're based on the comic book cartoon style more than the movies. But this box comes with 10 miniatures, so that's 32 more miniatures for the pile of shame. Speaking of licensed games, I have just a few things for another game called Star Wars Shatterpoint. Star Wars Shatterpoint is a newer game that I got really, really into when it dropped. I painted every single thing in the core box. I got a couple of expansions done, but then my excitement for it a little bit fell off, but it's like my buddy Larry's favorite game in the world, so I do want to get some more of the factions painted and play it with him. I have a couple of things on the painting desk that I forgot about. I have Barriss Offee and her Padawan, Luminara and Barriss. Then I got Jango Fett, Lord Poo Poo himself, and Obi-Wan Kenobi. This is some rescue squad pack. It's basically classic 1977 Star Wars. Then I got the Cad Bane fistful of credits because I want to do a bounty hunter gang. That sounds like a lot of fun. I love Ara Singh and Vili and his two little friends. And then the That's Good Business Hondo Anaka. I never thought that Hondo would actually be a miniature, but since Shatterpoint is all about heroes, there gets to be a Hondo miniature. 18 more miniatures, mostly new in box. The next thing is Armada, but not that Armada. It's a different Armada, and those guys are a little bit lost. I'll have to really find those. Armada, the boat game from Mantic. I have played this a bunch of times. It is really, really fun, and it always puts me in the mood to rewatch all 3 of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. But this is a really, really interesting game. It reminds me a lot of Star Wars X-Wing, and I guess Armada, the Star Wars version of the big boat game, but that game doesn't really exist anymore. I think you can still buy it in the stores, but they're not gonna make anything new for that game ever again, so I think it's kind of gone. But this game is really, really interesting, and I have a little bit of Basilion, a little bit of Orc, and a little bit of the Sea Monsters. The Sea Monsters, I am a little bit torn on because this is the faction that Sean likes, and it seems like they're busted powerful, which is of course how he just picked it because he thought it was cool, but he always ends up playing the stuff that just seems way overpowered. 22 models in total for this game. I think it'll fit nicely in one of my totes, and that will move me on nicely to my more fantasy skirmish games. Speaking of fantasy skirmish games, I've got quite a few of them. Moonstone is a game of like individual characters, and so it's not that much about buying armies or factions. It's more about buying like individual units and then swapping them in and out of your crews. But I have been, every now and then, they release limited edition models, and so I've been picking up a few of the limited edition models here and there. One of the coolest, this model was actually given to me by a friend of mine. This is Diana, Queen of the Fae, Enraged. This is actually an alternate card for the original Diane model. And so I actually played Diane last night, and she was able to kill, I forget what model she killed, but she killed it, and then she also died in the fight, and it was kind of glorious. But this is an alt card, an alt sculpt for that unit. So other than that, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Moonstone models. Oh, Moonstone is so much fun. But another fantasy skirmish game that I have not been working on as hard, even though I still love it, is a game called Malifaux. I have 3 full crews for Malifaux, and actually I have 2 more, but they're still in box. There is a newer faction for the game called, for Bygone, and it is Tiri. Tiri is also Queen of the Fae. I guess I have something for fairies, but this is kind of like a steampunk or it's kind of Dune-y looking architecture. These are spooky elves that live in the deserts of Malifaux, and they're one of the oldest races in Malifaux. Malifaux is kind of a turn of the century American, but weird West game, but they're getting into some really, really weird territory because Weird is the name of the company that actually makes this game. And then I have another faction that I was really meaning to get to last year, but that is Riva. Riva is a spooky, scary nun on a horse, and she leads the spoopy faction, the Halloween-inspired faction. And then last, but certainly not least, I have a whole bunch of models from a lovely little skirmish war game called Quar. I have 24 Coffrins, and then I have 12 more Coffrins, and then technically there's another 12 guys in this box, but those belong to Sean, so I'm not putting them in my pile of shame. Even though they're here physically in my pile of shame, they belong at Sean's house in his pile of shame. Once I get these things into some tote boxes, I'll be done, and then I can contabulate the points, and we'll see exactly how many miniatures have I gone through today. Okie doke, so adding up every single model in this pile and this giant tower behind me that I'm really nervous about knocking over, it is 856 minis. And every single one of them, it feels like there was a good reason behind it. But, it's too many. It's too many models. Now, comparing that to how many models I have actually painted, It is in the thousands, so maybe it's not the worst thing in the world that I have so many miniatures still to be painted. And some of them are closer to getting painted than others. I mean, if I could, I would pause time and space, paint all of these miniatures, and then restart time. But that's not really how it works. I think the next things on the painting chopping block, the things that I am going to knock out in quick succession, definitely, I'm gonna get my Crout Army up and running because I would love to run it in an RT. It's actually strong compared to my Space Marine army. I really wanna play the Crouts. And I have got to get cranking on these spearheads. As much fun as it is to play my Ogres and my Rats and my Andrasta over and over and over again, I wanna experience some new Age of Sigmar stuff. And I just wanna experience Age of Sigmar so I can know what army that I want to like focus on and play in real Age of Sigmar, which will probably lead to more models coming into the pile of shame. Let me know in the comments below. Number one, let me know how many models are in your pile of shame. But number two, let me know if you saw anything in this horde of miniatures that you think would make for a very interesting video down the road. Looking through this collection actually gave me a whole bunch of ideas. Now that I have everything boxed up, I can put it back on the shelf, and now it'll actually be arranged in a slightly more manageable fashion. I now remember where all my nuts are stored.